All right, I think we're live. This is Ryan, Triathlon.com, and we're going to be talking about Ironman and 70.3 Waco, the swimming course. So I'm going to break it up because this year, thanks to COVID and all things pandemic related, they went ahead and they're doing a full Ironman race in Waco along with the 70.3 in the same weekend. The full is on Saturday, the half is on Sunday, and it does start at noon per the event guide. So make sure you're paying attention to that if you're doing the half. But I want to talk about the swim course, and we're going to talk about both because it covers the same river area more or less. So just to get you guys ready, they're doing the full down there in Waco. Just in the event they ever try to pull it off again, this is a good kind of test run just to see how it goes over, how participation goes. If people like the course, maybe it's something they offer again in the future. They did in 2020 try to move Ironman Texas and group it with Waco, so it was going to be quote Ironman Texas at Waco, but they went ahead and they separated out Ironman Texas. Now it was last weekend at the time of recording this video, and then they did Ironman Waco individually separate. So we're going to go over it. So it's a 2-for-1. We're doing the 70.3 Waco, and we're going to do Ironman Waco. So let's talk about 70.3 Waco first, because of course it's just there's a few nuances and something a little different, because you're doing 1.2 miles instead of 2.4, so it does make a difference. So if you go to the website for 70.3 Waco, go down the course, go down the swim, you get a nice swim map. Again, this is in the athlete guide, so you don't necessarily need to print out and save it for later if you're going to print the athlete guide. But I always just kind of pull up the PDF and look at it, especially when we get later into the bike and the run. It has the elevation profiles and turn-by-turn directions on the second page, but the swims are pretty straightforward. There's no, aid stations, nothing like that. But it is good to have this to look at as far as seeing what the buoys are potentially going to look like. I did 70.3 Memphis a few weeks ago, and the actual swim course is a little bit different than the map. So don't always 100%. It's going to be exactly like the map. I definitely go out there and kind of check out the course. If they offer a practice swim, we did that at 7.3 Memphis. That really helped out. So just make sure that you're paying attention. Go to athlete briefings, listen to the virtual one, do anything like that, just to find out if there's any nuances to the course that maybe it's a little bit different than how they portrayed it in the map. So looking at the swim specifically, something that does jump out is you're going to be swimming, it looks like a little bit south into the east. So if you're swimming towards the east, potentially you're going to have sun in your face, especially, well, the 70.3, since you're starting at noon for 2021, the sun's probably going to be high enough that if it is sunny, that it may not be as much of a problem, the sun directly in your face, but the sun's going to be out if it's not cloudy. And I'll talk about the weather in another video here, 421 specifically, but just be ready that, if you're doing this in a regular year and the race starts normally like, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, you could be facing the sun when you're swimming kind of downriver here. So it might behoove you to have tinted goggles. Always bring tinted goggles for me. 70.3 Memphis, it rained the entire morning, basically the entire day, and I didn't have a problem with tinted goggles. It really wasn't an issue for me. It doesn't make it dark enough you can't see, but it does help out if the sun ever pops up in your face. It gives you a little bit of protection. It didn't really. It was funny in 70.3 Memphis. Did the practice swim the day before, swam back to the start area, and the sun popped up, and I couldn't see a thing even with tinted glasses. So just be prepared for that. Just be ready. That you need to be, at least have in your mind, where you're going with the buoys and everything, and know where you're at on the course. So if the sun does pop up and kind of hit you, blind you for a second, you kind of can keep your bearings as best you can. So with that, for the 70.3, it is all downriver. So take that with a grain of salt. Sometimes the current isn't that much. It just depends on how much rain they get. If it rains a lot, the swim has been canceled in the past just because the river was up too much and too strong of a current. I believe in 2019, there was a mild current. It wasn't anything crazy, but it did help just a little bit. Some people kind of reported that they didn't feel like there was much of a current at all. So the swim happened. I believe, and on the website, they advertise it as an average water temperature of 65 degrees Fahrenheit. I believe it was wetsuit optional, I want to say, last year. It might have been wetsuit legal. You're down in Texas, you're down in the South, so I think there's going to be a chance, depending on what the weather's going to be like. I think right now it's in the 80s or something like that. I think for race day it could be in the 70s. So just pay attention to the weather. I would definitely bring both. I'd bring a wetsuit, I would bring your speed suit, and just be prepared for both. I think it's going to be right on the edge. Again, I'll talk about weather in a later post, so we'll kind of dive into that a little bit more, talking about the temperatures and maybe wetsuit legal or not. But I'd bring it all: wetsuit, speed suit, tinted goggles. Just make sure you're prepared. Like I said, it's all downriver, so it's nothing too crazy or anything. So there's no turns basically, except for when you're kind of angling in the last minute to hit the finish line. But do notice there's these two red buoys. So what they're doing on a lot of courses is they'll have a timing kind of mat, I'll say, that goes up over where you're swimming through, so it picks up your timing chip. So when you're swimming through, it kind of clocks you to make sure that you're actually swimming the course, you're staying the course, and kind of intermediate check-in. So make sure that if you see these two red buoys, you're swimming between them, because if you're not, potentially you don't get recorded. Could cause problems later on. If you're vying for age group spots and stuff like that, you just don't want to give them any reason to come back and say, well, we don't know if you actually swam the entire course because we don't have proof. Make sure you got proof. So notice, though, they do have yellow buoys up into, it kind of looks like a halfway point, and then they switch to orange buoys. So that's kind of a good indicator of how far you are into the swim course. And then be on the lookout for the two little red buoys here at the end. That indicates you need to turn and start heading into shore for the finish line. And then you get a little bit of a run into transition. So it looks like a little bit of a hike on some concrete and paved trails and stuff back to transition. So just be ready for that. You're going to have to be doing a little bit of running on concrete or pavement or something like that. So just be ready for that. But overall, I mean, this is not a very technical swim. Like I said, I would not count on the current really helping you all that much. 2019, some of my athletes reported that they didn't really feel like the current helped them at all. Their times really didn't reflect any faster swims necessarily than usual. They did wear a wetsuit, so I'd have to look back. I can't remember if it was optional or legal in 2019. I believe in 2018, the first year they had it, the swim was canceled, so there was no swim. So just be ready for anything. Like I said, it's kind of on the border as far as temperatures go. You could have wetsuits, might not have wetsuits. There's probably not going to be much of a current. Like I said, I'd put the weather tracker on your phone and make sure that you're keeping track of Waco weather. If they're getting rain the weeks leading up to the race, here we are, October 11th, and the race for the 70.3 is October 24th. So a lot can happen in about 2 weeks' time. So just make sure you're staying on top of weather, just in case there could be a situation where it rains a little bit or it rains a lot, and it could drastically affect the race altogether. And the rain could also affect the transition areas and the grass area and parking and all that. So just make sure you stay on top of it and stay on your toes for that. So that's kind of my take on the half Ironman course for 70.3 Waco. Like I said, nothing too drastic. Bring a wetsuit, bring a speed suit, bring your tinted goggles, and just be ready. I would not count on it being like super cold or anything like that. Nothing crazy. Make sure you go through the two swim buoys here to get your time recorded, and then hit the turn to hit the finish line at the end. Jumping over to the full. So Ironman Waco, you go to their course, and it's a little bit, it's 2.4 miles, so you're adding a little bit more to the swim. So you've got an upriver swim. So this is where the current could really play in and factor into things. If it is so strong, there's going to be a point at which they say, okay, we're going to ditch the upriver swim. They've done it in other races, and they've cut the swim short. So just make sure you're paying attention to that if if it rains a lot the weeks before and that current's super strong, just make sure you're paying attention to that, because stay on top of their Facebook page and everything like that, just to make sure that you're on top of things if the swim gets changed at all, or if they shorten it, or if they take out the upriver swim. But be ready for that. So notice on the upriver swim, you've got the yellow buoys on the way out and the orange buoys on the right on the way back. And then you're swimming all the way through, and it doesn't look like they have the little two red buoys to swim through to record your times here. Please ignore my dogs upstairs barking, barking, and arguing over treats. So it's the same rules apply. You might be swimming into the sun, so I bring tender goggles, I'd bring a wetsuit, I'd bring your speed suit, and just make sure you're prepared for that. Make sure you're prepared to hit the turn here at the end. But just make sure that you're comfortable hitting the upriver swim. And that's, basically it's not too much different other than just a little upriver swim. Like I said, the same rules apply. If it's a strong current, I just keep on track of the Facebook page, make sure if anything pops up or changes, that you're aware of whatever changes and that you are on top of things if the swim gets changed at all. But basically that's going to be the difference between the 70.3 and the full is this little upriver portion. Like I said, there's been times, like I believe Louisville back in the day, part of it was an upriver swim, and they've had to take it out because the current was too strong. I don't think there's any professional athletes doing this race necessarily. So that's always been the guinea pigs, especially like 70.3 Chattanooga used to be a little upriver swim when the current was too strong. For the pros, they would stop the race and bring them back and then cut out the upriver swim, and it'd be super fast. So just be paying attention to that. Get there. And like you can't usually check in the day before, so you got to be 2 days there before the race. Definitely go down, check out the river, check out the current, make sure it's, you know what you're getting yourself into when you jump in that swim. Just be ready for anything. Like I said, bring your wetsuit, bring your speed suit, bring your 10 to swim goggles, and just be ready. It could be just a mild, almost still river, or it could be a pretty good moving river. Just pay attention to weather and make sure you know what's going on. So that basically is that in a nutshell for the swims. It's really, like I said, not very technical. For the full, there is a little turn at the end to come back down the river. Ignore my little pop up there. So it's nothing crazy. I mean, it's pretty straightforward for the full, for the half. Can't really get much more straightforward than that. It's a point-to-point swim, so do make sure that you're taking that into account. That typically they'll have you, especially for this distance, probably have you walk along the little rock walkway here to get to the swim start. Because generally, especially here when the swim start is right here and you're going to swim upriver, you're probably going to be walking a mile-ish to that swim start. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time to get your transition, get set up, and allow yourself to walk up to the swim start and then seat yourself correctly. Probably a rolling swim start. So definitely seat yourself correctly, especially for the full. It could get a little congested here, especially when you have to split the river in half for being out in the back. So make sure you seat yourself correctly, but get there with plenty of time, especially if it's raining, especially if there's parking in fields and grass. Transition is in grass. Make sure that you're being prepared for that. You're bringing stuff accounting for maybe you're going to have to run through mud and all kinds of other stuff because you guys, for the half, coming the day after the full. So if there's weather, if there's rain, if it's wet, it's going to be kind of tore up in transition. So just make sure you're ready and you're aware for that. So again, this is swim courses. If you got any questions, I didn't see any pop up while I was doing the video here. Put them in the comments. Give it a like. If you're seeing it on YouTube, give it a like. Give me a subscribe. Like I said, I'm going to go over the bike courses, the run courses, the weather, athlete guide, spectator kind of recommendations, all kinds of other stuff. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully your training's going well and you're getting ready for the race, and good luck on race day.